good evening. You're watching the Super Saturday Debate with me, Akanksha Swaroop. Now, on Friday, Delhi's Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena sanctioned the prosecution of novelist Arundhati Roy and Kashmiri professor Sheikh Showkat Hussain. This for allegedly provocative statements made at a 2010 event in Delhi propagating Kashmiri separatism. Roy is to be prosecuted under Section 13 of the UAPA on the basis of a 2010 FIR. It should be noted that the FIR against Ms. Roy and Dr. Hussain was registered in October of 2010 on the basis of a complaint by activist Sushil Pandit following the orders of the Court of the Metropolitan Magistrate in New Delhi. Now, the other two accused in the case, Syed Ali Shah Gilani, a Kashmiri separatist leader, and Syed Abdul Rahman Gilani, a Delhi University lecturer, have both died over the course of the proceedings. Now, it is claimed that during the course of the program that happened in 2010, Arundhati Roy delivered a 15-minute long speech and provoked people against the Indian state. She reiterated the Pakistani narrative of Azadi and how India has occupied Kashmir and its people. She recounts a 2007 interaction with a journalist in her speech, and in fact Roy remarks by saying, and let me quote, "India needs Azadi from Kashmir just as much Kashmir needs Azadi from India." Roy goes on to talk about how Kashmir back then had 700,000 security personnel manning the value of 12 million people. It is the most militarized zone in the world. This is what she had to say. And for us, the people of India, to tolerate that occupation is like allowing a kind of moral corrosion to drip into our bloodstream. Now let's cut back to 2024 and the LG's decision to sanction Roy's prosecution. Well, the opposition and left leaders have gone into a meltdown, calling the BJP-led NDA as a shaky government resorting to fascist and dictatorial means, turning India into a banana republic. And that brings us to the big question as far as prosecution of Arundhati Roy is concerned. Is it freedom of speech or separatism?
आज तक एक मुद्दे से लेकर कुछ ठीक थे। 10 साल के बाद जब तीसरी सरकार बनी है तो मेजॉरिटी की सरकार बनी है, वो इस पर कार्रवाई की बात करते हैं, तो दिखाता है कि कहीं ना कहीं पॉलिटिकल ये डिसीजन है।
यूएपीए लगाना गैर कानूनी होने के साथ साथ गैर जमहूरी है। लोगों के अज़हान को आप बंद नहीं कर सकते, लोगों की राय को आप दबा नहीं सकते यूएपीए लगाने से।
कांग्रेस और उसके इकोसिस्टम में इतनी बिलबिलाहट क्यों? वो क्यों अब दुख के आंसू रो रहे हैं? क्या कांग्रेस और उसके इकोसिस्टम ने ठान लिया है कि जो भी अलगाववादी भाषा बोलेगा उसके साथ कांग्रेस पार्टी खड़ी हो जाएगी?
All right, so is it freedom of speech or is it separatism? That's a question we'll be deep diving into. I'm joined in by two of my guests today. Let me introduce them. I'm joined in by Mr. Tom Vadakan, who's a spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party. I'm also joined in by Mr. Ravi Srivastava, who's a known political analyst. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining in. Ravi Srivastava, I'd like to hear from you. The fact of the matter is that today we are hearing a political blame game breakout of sorts. The Congress party, of course, taking the lead when it comes to attacking the BJP-led NDA as far as freedom of speech and expression being under threat is concerned. The fact of the matter remains is that when the sedition case first was slapped as far as Arundhati Roy is concerned, that was under the UPA regime back in 2010. How do you assess that?
See, first of all, I don't approve that particular statement made by her sometimes in 2010 that only Azadi, that seminar which was organized by Tehelka in Delhi and in which she made this statement. I don't endorse that statement. But the fact is that in the democracy, there should be a space for dissent. It is not that everybody who is talking, who is making some statement is a separatist. It's a wrong thing to do. The way is to have a debate with the logic with such person, not the jail. And that too after 14 years. And you call it a provocative, inciting statement. You know what incitement has taken place where the government was sleeping for 14 years. We had Mr. Modi's government for last 10 years and no action was taken. And suddenly you wake up and your third round of the government is formed and you find that it is inciting, it is provocative, etc., etc.
No,
This
I would like to get into the timing of this as well. But before I do that, how do you define dissent and what do you call provocative in nature? Because we know in 2010 we've seen how militancy was in the valley. But having said that, let me quote parts of her speech as we speak, Ravi Srivastav. India needs Azadi from Kashmir just as much as Kashmir needs Azadi from India. She's talking about the security personnel manning the valley, most militarized zone, and to tolerate that occupation is allowing a kind of moral corrosion to drip into our bloodstream. While I do agree that there are going to be victims of that military occupation, having said that, was that not the need of the hour back then?
I think that instead of listening to a small clip, you should listen to the entire 45-minute statement which she made, in which she said that perhaps India is the only country which uses the army, the military, the state forces against its own people. They used it in the northeast, in Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur, against its own people, the tribals. They have used the forces against the Muslims in Kashmir, against in Punjab, in Telangana, in several states where the state has used the military power against its own people. I think what she mentioned is unprecedented in the whole world, that people using their forces against their own people instead of talking, instead of bringing them on the board.
All right, let me bring in Tom Vadakan. Tom Vadakan, you heard what Ravi Srivastav has had to say. He's questioning why this entire case has now been allowed to be prosecuted after 14 years. First of all, there are also questions being raised about what is the idea of dissent, why is it in fact even being called as a sedition case, considering the sedition laws already been scrapped. Now she's going to be prosecuted under UAPA, but the merit for that also is being questioned. I'd like your thoughts.
14 years and counting. She's been given a long rope. 2005, the Congress government filed the first complaint against her. Then that went into the freezer because she was part of that ecosystem, not part, she was almost leading that ecosystem nationally and internationally. Evidences have been coming and surfaced, and now she has been charged under UAPA and under Section 13. I think it's most appropriate because a long rope has been given to a person who's speaking against the country, who's talking about balkanization of our country, who's speaking about the army in some words that I can't repeat it on television. And this is not just one speech or one.
I'm not able to hear anything.
It goes nationally
Request
and internationally,
my team to fix the
screaming
audio
and
over
shouting.
there, because I believe Ravi cannot hear Mr. Tom Vadakan right now.
Can you hear me?
I can. Please go ahead.
Yes. As long as you can hear me and others can hear me, I'll continue because Mr. Ravi can develop hearing problems. Anyway, whatever be it. The point here I'm trying to say is a long rope has been given to this lady. Wherever she goes, nationally, internationally, she gives me the image of a lady traveling on a broom, just talking about evil. There's nothing positive about what she says about her own motherland. I'm so ashamed that she belongs to that part of my country, Kerala.
All right, Mr. Vadakan, please hold on to those thoughts. I'm also joined in by Sushil Pandit, who's the Kashmiri activist who also, in fact, was the first one under whose complaint that FIR was lodged back in the year 2010. Sushil, I've heard your conversation with Rahul yesterday, and you've also spoken extensively about how much effort that took, in fact, to bring it to the notice of the authorities. While you do share your own struggles over there back in 2010, do address the question in terms of why has the sanction to prosecute Arundhati Roy been given now? How does this lapse of 14 years be justified?
See, who am I to justify this or speculate as to why this happened?
True, but
It
share your
is
insights,
probably
please.
no. It is very clearly the responsibility across two governments, and these two governments represent two different ends of this political spectrum. So, if I say that there is a political consensus in not prosecuting, and this permission is mere exception to the rule, then I won't be exaggerating. Let me tell you, we've had 9 prime ministers since our expulsion from Kashmir. But not a single murderer, not a single rapist, not a single abductor, not a single arsonist, not a single occupier of our homes and temples has till date been prosecuted, has been punished, sentenced. None. So we've seen governments of all shades and ideologies, all kinds of prime ministers and coalitions have come and gone, all kinds of parties have ruled us. But one thing common across all of them, and in addition to the executive, political executive, judiciary, 3 petitions to the Supreme Court, starting one from 2017 July, where I requested that please expedite work on FIRs pending for the last 3 decades, 27 years. Nobody, no victim, no survivor till date has been offered justice. It was thrown out, not even admitted for arguments. And not once. There was a review petition, there was a curative petition 3 times, and the person who was common to all these benches was the current CJI.
But Sushil Pandit,
Justice Chandrachud.
do also
No,
shed
so
light.
let me complete the point. There seems to be a huge apathy in the judiciary, in the political system about prosecuting crimes, heinous crimes like genocide and other petty crimes. Now, I consider this more of a white-collar crime, where people are not murdered yet, but all she's saying is that a genocide is justifiable. Picking up arms against the country is justifiable. Advocating breakup of this country is justifiable. Calling India a colonial state. You have a worthy sitting in this panel who says using army and security forces against its own people. Who are these people? Insurgents running around with guns, killing civilians. You call them own people? 135,000 Kalashnikovs have been recovered in Kashmir. They don't grow in the apple orchards of Kashmir. We don't have a factory to produce Kalashnikovs. And I'm not talking of rocket-propelled grenades. I'm not talking about pistols. I'm not talking about other ammunition.
All right.
To
All right.
target them, to
I've given you
neutralize
a
them
patient
is
here,
using
Sushil,
security
because
forces
you've
against
made
their own
some
people.
very concrete, solid points. Advocate Muzaffar Iqbal Khan, who's also the spokesperson for the NC, is also joining me. Mr. Khan, while you shed light on the popular opinions within the valley, I also want you to keep in mind what Sushil's just said. What you define as freedom of speech is actually separatism. And in fact, I'm not going to only just touch on Kashmir, but in that 15-minute speech that Arundhati Roy delivered that day in 2010, she's also questioned the existence of India. No. Let me finish. She's questioned the existence of India. She has questioned how Britishers, in fact, drew the entire map of India, keeping the diversity in mind, and that they wanted that it should be a diverse country so that when it does receive independence, it is only plagued by divisionary forces. And today, it's exactly what we see people like Arundhati Roy do. She's questioned the existence of even parts like Goa, the Northeast as well.
I must tell you that much water has flown down the bridge now. It is under bridge now. It has happened in 2010. what provocative statement she has given, I don't remember. And in Jammu and Kashmir, nobody remember what she said and in which context she has said. I'm not justifying. She may have said something wrong, provocative, something insidious, or something which would have incited the sentiments of the people. I'm not justifying it. But what has happened in 2010, if you still feel that there is some reaction or some sentiments in Jammu and Kashmir about that, nobody is, we don't have that long-lasting memory of the people.
No.
Anyway,
Mr. Khan, let me tell you, people from your own party, MPs from your own party, Valley-centric parties like even the PDP, but even the National Conference, there have been leaders who've come out in the open to support her. They've said that there's no room for dissent, that there's no space for any differing opinions, and that freedom of speech should be allowed. Do you think that this is freedom of speech or separatism?
Anaksha, that is the guarantee of the Constitution under Article 19. Freedom of speech is not is at anybody's pleasure. Article 21 provides you a guarantee of life and limbs, and Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. And if somebody is advocating, that is his opinion. And you have a right to make an opinion about your own government as well as past government. The point in issue is that what has been an offense under Section 13 of the Unlawful Prevention Activity Act 1.5 decades back, it took at least 3-4 governments to decide it that yes, sanction is required. And you know, the sanction requirement of the sanction under Section 45 of the Unlawful Prevention Activity Act is on the basis of the evidences collected by the investigation. So it took them 1.5 decades to analyze the evidences collected by the investigating officer and to take a final call. So that is another.
Well, I think it's a classic case of is justice being delayed or denied. Let me bring in Sushil. Sushil wants to make a point over there.
Of the Constitution.
Yes, Sushil, please go ahead.
Thank you, Akanksha. Indeed, Section 19 guarantees freedom of speech. It's a fundamental right, but no fundamental right is absolute. It is subject to reasonable restrictions. You cannot scream fire in an auditorium full of people and cause a stampede and let people die, even if there is fire. So, your freedom of speech stops where my nose starts. This worthy lawyer should know that such statements,
you need not to teach me. Why are you pointing it, making it personal? Mr. Sushil, I don't want to indulge in argument with you. Don't make it personal. Don't make it personal.
Mr. Khan, why don't we talk about the genocide of the Kashmiri Pandits? Why is the same opposition mum or why
justified
it?
No, I want to know why
on that day, Akanksha,
he is always spitting venom against Kashmiri, but nobody has ever justified it.
There were Northeastern
nobody has ever justified it.
There were Khalistanis, there were Maoists, all entire rogues gallery
only there are only few people. If this McCarthyism will keep on going, if you stop this McCarthyism, then everybody will be anti-national. Only very few people will be nationalists.
All right,
very few people will remain nationalist.
I think Ravi Srivastava also wants to make a point. Let's listen into what Ravi has to say.
If this McCarthyism will continue,
no, but what is McCarthyism? Mr. Iqbal Khan, what is McCarthyism? Is Khalistan separatism McCarthyism? Is it Maoism McCarthyism? Where will India be? Are you questioning that India doesn't deserve to be a country? Because if you look at Punjab, well, you have the Khalistan threat. If you look at the East, you have the Maoists.
Remain a country.
Then you have the Naxalites.
It is a democratic country to be ruled.
Supposed to be.
It is for the court.
Everything
it is for the court. It is for the court.
Yes.
Let's have a coherent discussion, Mr. Khan. Sushil, I will give you time. I'm running short of time. Ravi Srivastava, please go ahead and make your point.
Akanksha, I am in agreement with the Sushil Pandit to the extent that Honorable Supreme Court has said it, the freedom of speech is not absolute. It is with the restrictions, it is with the limitations. But that does not stop from dissent. The dissent is the beauty, is the essence of the democracy. I am asking a question here. Whom are you going to blame? This nation has elected Mr. Rashid Engineer as a member parliament from Kashmir. This country, Mr. Amarpal Singh, sitting in the Dibrugarh jail, has been elected as an independent member parliament by this nation only. So how can we keep on, making this kind of partisans?
No,
There
but when
has
you
to
talk
be
about
There
draconian
has
laws,
to be-
Ravi, my question is very simple. Where do all these voices go when, you've had sedition cases also being slapped equally in number during the UPA regime, the 10 years of UPA regime? Why only question the BJP? I'm going to, in fact, bring in Tom Vadakan on that note. Tom Vadakan, there are allegations when it comes to continuity in the BJP-led NDA. They are saying that yes, the NDA is continuing with its fascist dictatorial tendencies, also especially proven now with the sanction given as far as prosecution of Arundhati Roy is concerned.
Akansha, it takes 14 years. All the evidences have to be collected. There are new evidences that have emerged, which is not in our knowledge. She's talked about Chhattisgarh. She's talked about the support for Naxals in Chhattisgarh. What do you do with a character like this? She has abused the Indian Army for doing their duty. And
no, I think we are just glossing over the other aspects that she's talked about. She's talked about Northeast, she's talked about Goa. How can we just look over all those aspects? She's questioned the mere existence of India as a nation.
She's questioning that, Akansha. That's the whole issue.
And that is my problem.
She wants to balkanize India. She's working under the mentorship of the Indian National Congress and the left. This is the agenda. Let me put that clear. That's what's worrying them.
No, I don't think she's...
Let them come out with a position that Kashmir
I do not know whether she is a member of the Indian National Congress.
Right. I don't think we should politicize her at the moment, but...
It has been politicized, I'm sure. What more politicization is required?
So
because
far,
who is coming out and
all right, let's also
I have
listen
never
into what
seen
Muzaffar Khan has to say. Muzaffar, please go ahead. What the point that you're making?
Ma'am, I have not so far heard about her association with any political party. She is an activist, and I have heard it that she's a good writer. She has written many books. So far as giving a political flavor to this would be totally blowing out of proportion.
No,
I am not justifying what she said. I am not justifying.
You cannot equate the separatism of Kashmir with a freedom movement of India. That is what she's done. And that is deeply problematic.
That is her personal opinion.
No, but nothing is personal. No. Muzaffar Iqbal Khan, nothing is personal if it is delivered in the form of a speech at a public event, that too accompanied by, say, a person like Sar Gilani, who we all know is a parliament accused. And while he was even acquitted by the Supreme Court, they said that that's because of a lack of evidence and that his role was suspicious. I'm going to end with closing thoughts of Sushil Pandit. Sushil Pandit, I give you 30 seconds.
Akansha.
Akansha.
I want to add something.
She celebrated subversion of this country. She mocked at India as a new colonial power.
I do not know when this country was subverted.
India needs to be dismantled into several countries, including a Tamil state, including a Kashmir state, including a state for Khalistan, including the Northeast. She advocated dismemberment, and she also upheld violence as a means of it. And there was, you see, the Supreme Court decided definition of sedition where even there is a breach of peace and not just advocacy of your thoughts. And there was breach of peace. In my presence, police detained protesters against this kind of speechifying. And these people were detained.
That breach of peace is not sufficient to attract 150p. That is not sufficient.
Now,
that is not sufficient to attract that provision. The Supreme Court is very clear on that. It may not be sufficient
for him. Even a genocide in Kashmir will not be sufficient for him.
You may be interpreting the judgment of the Supreme Court according to your convenience.
He's here to defend the genociders of Kashmir. And which is why we have a problem. We are the victims of this kind of ideology and its professing of publicly. She needs to be booked. It has taken 14 years.
She has already been
too
booked.
long.
Now
But
it
it
is
is
for,
never too
for the
late
court to
to
see.
do
Alright.
the right thing. Never too late to do the
It is
right
for
thing.
court to see
And she
now.
needs to be made an example of.
We cannot pronounce a judgment today. It has to be seen by the court whether
she
her
needs
acts,
to be made an
whether
example
her
out of.
acts come within the definition of unlawful activity given under Section 2, Clause O of the Unlawful Prevention
Yes.
Activity Act. That has to be
Yes.
seen
All
by
right.
the court
I
itself.
think-
we cannot pronounce a judgment today.
Right, nobody's passing the
OGWs.
judgment. That is exactly what the idea was, to have this discussion whether or not this merits prosecution. And I'm sure Muzaffar Iqbal Khan, you will also agree that let the law take its own course and decide for what its worth is as far as this entire controversy is concerned. We know that 14 years have passed, but justice delayed is justice denied. Well, we'll have to see how the courts take this forward. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining in on this discussion. And with that, it's a quick wrap from my end. Thank you so much for watching the Super Saturday.